Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this video, I'm going to take a look at what's going to happen to Shaman in the standard rotation. There's a big standard rotation, the Corset is coming and basic and classic sets are rotating out of standard format, so a lot of changes are going to happen. And what about Shaman? From basic and classic sets, Shaman is basically not losing that much. Shaman is even getting some of its cards buffed, but of course there are some losses here too, like Bloodlust, first and foremost Bloodlust. Yeah, Finisher is gone. Earthshock is gone, so some of those silence abilities are gone. There's still Hex, the more expensive silence is still available, but Earthshock is not. Farsight is going away, so some of that discounting ability, some of that card draw, and Lava Burst, a little bit of that damaging spells. As for Galakrond's Awakening, Shaman had Fist of Raden, Eye of the Storm, neither saw a ton of play. Fist of Raden saw some niche play in some attempts to make a Control Shaman, well, Control Shaman wasn't that great anyway. Although of course it losing some of the few tools it has is never great for the archetype. Looking at Descent of Dragons, which was a phenomenal expansion, Shaman is losing Galakrond the Tempest. Galakrond Shaman was a big thing for a while, but eventually pretty much every card in the deck was nerfed and then it just fell by the wayside. So while Galakrond was still useful, because it turned your hero power into a more useful hero power, so you could still use Galakrond even alone in Control Shaman decks, it wasn't really a mainstay at the moment. Cumulo Maximus going away, Velcro if you have Overload, Mana Crystals deal 5 damage. Pretty sweet elemental, but a little bit slow for the current meta. Also the big spell damage dragon is going Squall Hunter. More of an evolve high roll than a card that you put in your deck, but pretty sweet when it happens anyway. But the 1-drops are a big concern. Searching Tempest, Storm's Wrath. Searching Tempest uses a 1-drop in a lot of Shaman decks, that 1-3 body, with the potential to be a 2-3 that's just a huge 1-drop. And Storm's Wrath is really sweet for buffing up your tokens. Whenever there has been a successful token deck in Hearthstone, it's always been able to buff up those tokens, and with Bloodlust going away, so we're losing the finisher, and Storm's Wrath going away, so we're losing some buffing ability, that raises some questions on how Shaman token decks could work. Saviors of Uldum surprisingly turned out to be a jackpot for Shaman. Practically every card from Saviors of Uldum saw play. Quest Shaman was a thing for a while, Quest is going away, Quest decks are completely dead, then just Shaman is losing so much stuff. A lot of Totem support is going away, Totem Search, Evil Totem, Splitting Axe. Another way to have a finisher with Vecina, some of that Evolve support with Mogo Flesh Shaper, some AoE with Sandstorm Elemental and Earthquake from Control Shaman decks, and Plague of Murlocs, the big way to just turn everything into something else. Even Rise of Shadows was a good expansion for Shaman. A relatively weak expansion overall, but Shaman got Mutate, Sludge Slurper, the 1-drop that most Shaman decks run to this day. Underbelly Angler, Witch's Brew, beautiful healing card for control decks. Hagata Scheme, one of the few Shaman AoE spells. Swamp Queen Hagata, win condition that was a little lackluster in the end. And Walking Fountain, a beautiful minion that clears some boards and heals you at the same time. So a lot of Control Shaman staples are going away with Rise of Shadows, as well as some of the early game that all the Shaman decks are running. Where does this leave Shaman decks? I was kind of hopeful for Totem Shaman, because the Corset includes a little bit of Totem Shaman support, but Totem Shaman is losing so much. It's losing basically its entire early game, it's losing some of its most important buffs, it's losing its finisher. There's still Totem support cards. There's Tour Guide, there's the Grand Totem, there's the Totemic Reflection, Totem Goliath, there's the Draenei Totem Carver from the new Corset, but what Totem Shaman desperately needs is an early game. So Forged in the Barrens has to give Totem Shaman some kind of early game if this deck archetype is to survive. Aggro Shaman is looking a little better. It's losing Sludge Slurper, Searching Tempest, okay, so it loses its 1-drops. It will need some new 1-drops. And it's losing Cobalt Spellkin, which was used as a bit of a resource generator. But there's a lot of pieces that remain. The expansions from 2020 included a bunch of damage spells like Serpentine Portal and Dunk Tank. There are still sweet things that you can do with your Doomhammer, and then there's Inara Stormcrash, Rockbite Weapon is staying in standard, it's not included in this deck, but it could be. So while totems look like they're going to struggle a little bit in finding how do they actually get on the board and stay on it, this sort of pure aggro approach is losing less, and still having ample finishers available. Then there's Evolve Shaman. And I'm afraid that Evolve Shaman might not die, because Boxspine Knuckles are not leaving. Yep, you can still swing at the face and transform all of your minions. However, most of the good targets for Boxspine Knuckles are leaving. Desert Hare is going away, Faceless Corruptor is going away, also Horde Pillager that allowed you to just get your Boxspine Knuckles back over and over again, that's also going away. So while there is still some Evolve support, Evolve Shaman would need more targets, more minions that make copies of themselves or something, so that they would have good targets for Boxspine Knuckles. If Evolve Shaman looked like it's losing a lot, then, well, Control Shaman is losing everything. Control Shaman is using its healing, it's losing its AoE, it's losing its removal. There's just nothing left. The only thing the deck has left is like this corrupt synergies. And yeah, clowns are fun, but how do you corrupt them? And yeah, Dunk Tank can also be an AoE spell, kind of, once you corrupt it first, so ouch. Shaman doesn't have strong AoE or healing in their core set. Shaman is not like Warlock or Warrior. Being controlled doesn't come naturally to Shaman, that has to come from the expansions. And all the Control Shaman duels that we're using right now were introduced in 2019, so they are about to rotate out. So before we get the Forge in the Barrens cards, it looks like Aggro Shaman is surviving the best, and there's reason to be hopeful for Totem Shaman to survive. Things are looking a bit rough for Evolve Shaman, and things are looking really bad for Control Shaman. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.